Hi ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Ancient Epics, the place where the greatest stories of humanity come back to life. Long before neon lights ever burned against a darkened sky, before machines learned to think and cities grew higher than mountains, humanity had already built a world of excess, ambition, and quiet decay. Archaeologists brushing dust from shattered marble have long known a troubling truth. The most advanced societies rarely fall in fire alone, they rot from within. In the final centuries of ancient Rome, the empire possessed unmatched roads, engineering, law, and military power, yet its streets echoed with poverty, corruption, and spectacle-driven violence. Power concentrated into fewer hands, while ordinary lives were spent as currency in games of influence. This same pattern, long buried beneath centuries of soil, re-emerges with startling clarity in the imagined future of Cyberpunk 2077's Night City. Night City is often mistaken for pure fantasy, a dream born entirely from modern anxieties. Yet its chaos mirrors something far older than microchips and mega-corporations. Its architecture of dominance, its worship of wealth, its hollow promises of freedom, all echo the marble halls and shadowed alleyways of Imperial Rome. This is not coincidence, but inheritance. Civilizations, like constellations, repeat their shapes across time. In this tale, the firelight reveals how a digital metropolis became Rome reborn. Through broken laws, corporate emperors, blood-soaked entertainment, and forgotten citizens, the ancient world whispers beneath the hum of machines. What follows is not prophecy nor fantasy alone, but a reflection drawn from history's deepest well, where past and future drink from the same source. Night City rises on the western edge of a fractured continent, its skyline jagged like broken teeth against the horizon. Towers of glass and steel replace Rome's temples and basilicas, yet their purpose remains unchanged. They are monuments to power. In ancient Rome, the skyline was dominated by the Palatine Hill, home to emperors, and by colossal public works like the Colosseum and the Baths of Caracalla. These were not built merely for utility. They were messages carved in stone, declaring who ruled and who obeyed. In Night City, mega-corporations serve the same role once held by imperial families and senatorial dynasties. Arasaka, Militech, and their rivals function as sovereign powers, commanding private armies much as Roman legions once marched under the eagle standard. Roman historians such as Tacitus recorded how generals became more loyal to paymasters than to the Senate itself. In Night City, loyalty is similarly transactional, purchased through contracts, implants, and survival. The Roman economy thrived on conquest, slavery, and extraction. Mines in Hispania and Dacia were worked relentlessly, their silver and gold feeding the empire's endless appetite. Archaeological evidence from Las Medulas in Spain shows entire mountains dismantled by hydraulic mining, rivers diverted to tear earth apart. This ruthless reshaping of nature finds its echo in Night City, synthetic body modifications, and environmental collapse. Flesh, like land, becomes a resource to be exploited. Citizens of Rome lived beneath laws that promised justice, but often delivered spectacle instead. The phrase bread and circuses, coined by the poet Juvenal, captured the empire's strategy. Appease the masses with food and entertainment while power moved unseen. Gladiatorial games filled the Colosseum with blood and cheers, masking economic inequality and political decay. These combats were not random violence. They were carefully managed rituals reinforcing the state's authority over life and death. Night City's entertainment culture mirrors this ancient practice. Violence becomes commodified, broadcast, monetized, and consumed. Illegal fight rings, braindances, and mercenary legends replace gladiators, yet the emotional exchange remains unchanged. Lives are offered for spectacle, and the crowd looks away from the systems that demand such sacrifice. Religion in ancient Rome adapted to power rather than restraining it. Gods were absorbed, reshaped, and politicized. Emperors themselves were declared divine, their images worshipped in temples across the empire. This fusion of belief and authority created obedience wrapped in reverence. Night City, too, possesses its own sacred symbols. Corporate logos glow like modern idols, promising salvation through enhancement, immortality through technology. Faith shifts from gods to systems, but devotion remains. The streets below Rome's grandeur told a different story. Insulae, crowded apartment blocks, housed the majority of the population. Fires, disease, and collapse were constant threats. Ancient writers described streets filled with beggars, veterans abandoned by the state, and migrants drawn by false hope. These urban realities parallel Night City's lower districts, where towering wealth casts long shadows over forgotten lives. Law in Rome became increasingly selective as the empire aged. The elite navigated justice with bribes and influence, while the poor faced brutal punishment. Roman legal tablets promised equality, yet practice told another tale. Night City reflects this imbalance with painful accuracy. Corporate immunity replaces senatorial privilege. Enforcement bends toward those who fund it, leaving others exposed. Even the structure of citizenship itself eroded over time. Rome once extended citizenship as a sacred bond, but later diluted it into a political tool. Identity became transactional. In Night City, humanity itself becomes negotiable. Cybernetic enhancement blurs the line between person and product, echoing Rome's reduction of people into property, labor, or spectacle. Astronomers of antiquity believed Rome's destiny was written in the stars. Constellations such as Capricorn, associated with Augustus, symbolized divine favor. Yet the heavens remained indifferent as the empire fractured. Night City's neon constellations promise progress, yet beneath them lies the same cosmic silence. Technology does not alter the ancient truth that unchecked power invites collapse. Thus, beneath circuits and chrome, the bones of Rome endure. Night City is not a warning from the future, but a memory from the past reborn in digital form. Its chaos is ancient, its struggles familiar, its tragedy already written once before. The fire crackles lower as this first chapter closes, leaving behind the unsettling realization that history never truly sleeps. It waits, patient, for new names and new masks, ready to rise again. As the embers glow deeper, the tale turns inward toward the machinery of power that sustained both ancient Rome and Night City, long after their moral centers had weakened. In Rome, authority was not merely enforced by legions, but maintained through a delicate web of patronage, fear, and dependence. Senators, generals, and wealthy families formed alliances that resembled living organisms, each feeding upon the other. Loyalty flowed upward, protection downward, and truth vanished somewhere between. Night City follows this same ancient geometry of dominance. Power is not centralized but fragmented among competing corporate houses, each guarded by private soldiers and information networks. This mirrors the late Roman Empire, when emperors relied increasingly on mercenary forces and political marriages rather than shared civic ideals. Archaeological inscriptions from the 3rd century reveal rapid changes in leadership, coups masked as successions, and loyalty secured with gold rather than honor. Stability became an illusion sustained by intimidation. The Roman military, once a disciplined citizen force, transformed into a professional army loyal to commanders instead of the state. This shift altered Rome's destiny. Generals like Septimius Severus openly advised soldiers to enrich themselves and disregard civilian authority. Night City's mercenaries inherit the same legacy. Fighters sell allegiance to the highest bidder, guided not by law, but by survival and profit. Violence becomes routine, stripped of ideology, practiced as labor. Trade once bound Rome together. Roads stretched across continents, enabling the movement of grain from Egypt, olive oil from Hispania, and spices from distant Arabia. These networks created wealth but also dependence. When supply lines faltered, hunger followed swiftly. Excavations of Roman granaries show sudden abandonment during periods of unrest, silent testimony to how fragile abundance truly was. Night City's economy is equally interconnected and equally brittle. Data replaces grain, energy replaces water, yet the principle remains unchanged. Those who control distribution wield absolute power. When systems fail, chaos spreads faster than any invading army. The ancient lesson remains: complexity without compassion breeds collapse. Rome's urban planners once believed architecture could civilize the masses. Aqueducts delivered water across vast distances, public baths offered hygiene and leisure, and forums served as civic hearts. Yet over time, these spaces decayed. Maintenance declined, corruption siphoned resources, and once glorious structures became ruins. Archaeologists have uncovered bath complexes abandoned not by conquest, but neglect. Night City's infrastructure echoes this fate. Beneath glittering towers lie failing systems patched together for profit rather than longevity. Elevators stall, districts black out, and public services vanish where they no longer generate revenue. The city survives not through care, but through improvisation. Like Rome, it stands tall while hollowing within. Cultural identity in ancient Rome fractured as the empire expanded. Traditions blended, languages merged, and old customs lost meaning. While diversity enriched the empire, it also strained shared identity. Writers like Ammianus Marcellinus described citizens who no longer understood what Rome represented, only that it ruled them. Unity dissolved into administration. Night City inherits this fragmentation. Its population is drawn from countless origins, united not by shared values, but by economic necessity. Identity becomes modular, customizable, replaceable. This mirrors Rome's late imperial citizenship, which granted legal status without cultural belonging. Community erodes when survival eclipses meaning. Education in Rome once trained orators, philosophers, and statesmen. Over centuries, it narrowed into rhetoric divorced from virtue. Schools produced skilled manipulators rather than wise leaders. Night City's knowledge systems reflect this imbalance. Expertise serves efficiency and control, not ethics. Intelligence becomes instrumental, not moral. Even time itself was experienced differently in Rome's decline. Festivals multiplied as distractions, calendars filled with spectacles while governance stagnated. Coins were debased, their silver content reduced, silently stealing value from the populace. Modern scholars identify this as economic erosion disguised as continuity. Night City's time is measured in updates, upgrades, and contracts. Progress is announced constantly, yet meaning recedes. Value shifts invisibly, leaving citizens chasing stability that no longer exists. The illusion of motion conceals stagnation. Religion, once Rome's anchor, fragmented into competing cults and philosophies. Faith became personal rather than communal, powerful yet isolating. Night City mirrors this spiritual dispersal. Belief retreats into private rituals, technology promising transcendence where institutions fail, yet no system replaces shared purpose. Astronomical records from Rome's era show eclipses interpreted as omens of doom. Chroniclers wrote of skies darkening as if reflecting earthly decay. Night City skies glow artificially, stars obscured by light pollution, yet the symbolism remains. When humanity blocks the heavens, it forgets its place within them. Thus, Rome's slow unraveling repeats in silicon and steel. Not through invasion, but through imbalance. Not through ignorance, but through forgetting wisdom already earned. The firelight reveals a pattern carved across centuries, waiting to be recognized. As the night deepens, the story moves toward its final reckoning, where ancient echoes and future shadows converge into a single, enduring lesson. As the fire settles into glowing ash, the final movement of this long memory unfolds, revealing what becomes of civilizations that mistake endurance for immortality. Ancient Rome did not collapse in a single night. It thinned, stretched, and fractured like metal bent too many times. By the 5th century, emperors ruled in name alone. Real authority belonged to landowners, generals, and administrators who governed fragments of what had once been whole. The empire still called itself eternal, even as it could no longer defend its borders or feed its cities. Night City stands at a similar threshold. It proclaims permanence through towering skylines and endless innovation, yet its foundations tremble beneath accumulated strain. History teaches that collapse rarely announces itself with trumpets. It arrives quietly, disguised as normalcy. Rome's citizens continued attending games even as borders fell. Night City's inhabitants pursue survival and status while deeper systems erode unnoticed. Environmental decline played a silent role in Rome's fate. Lead pipes poisoned water supplies, deforestation altered climates, and overworked land yielded diminishing harvests. Modern scientific analysis of Roman bones reveals elevated lead levels, confirming ancient suspicions recorded by writers like Vitruvius. These slow poisons weaken bodies and judgment alike. Night City's environment mirrors this decay. Pollution seeps into air and soil, synthetic substances replace natural balance, and the cost is paid gradually, invisibly, until it is unavoidable. Memory itself became unstable in Rome's final centuries. Monuments lost meaning as literacy declined and history turned into myth. Temples were repurposed, statues defaced or forgotten. Archaeologists often find layers where sacred and mundane blur together, evidence of a culture no longer certain what to preserve. Night City shares this fragile relationship with memory. Data overwhelms remembrance. Records exist everywhere, yet meaning dissolves beneath abundance. What is not profitable is erased. Despite decay, Rome did not vanish entirely. Its laws shaped medieval kingdoms, its roads guided future travelers, and its language echoed through centuries. Collapse was not an ending, but a transformation. From its ruins emerged new worlds, shaped by lessons learned and lessons ignored. Night City, too, contained seeds beyond its chaos. Within its shadows exist acts of loyalty, quiet resistance, and human dignity that refuse commodification. Ancient philosophers believed cycles governed history. Polybius wrote of an acyclosis, the eternal rotation of political forms, rising and falling like seasons. Empires grow strong, become corrupt, and are reborn in altered shapes. Night City represents one such turn of the wheel. Its story is not condemnation, but recognition. It reflects humanity's recurring struggle between creation and control. Astronomy offers a final metaphor. Stars themselves are born, burn fiercely, and collapse into remnants that seed new galaxies. Roman astronomers charted these heavens, believing them perfect and eternal, yet even they recorded novae and comets as signs of change. Night City's artificial lights attempt to outshine the stars, but cannot alter cosmic truth. Nothing that burns escapes transformation. Thus, Cyberpunk 2077's Night City stands revealed not as a distant fantasy, but as a mirror polished by time. Its chaos is ancient, inherited from marble forums and blood-stained arenas. Its rulers wear suits instead of togas, its gladiators carry chrome instead of steel, yet the structure remains. History does not repeat because it forgets. It repeats because it is remembered imperfectly. The fire dims, leaving silence where spectacle once ruled. What remains is the enduring question carried across centuries, whether power will continue to consume itself or whether wisdom might one day interrupt the cycle. Rome never found that answer in time. Night City waits upon the same threshold, suspended between brilliance and ruin. If these ancient voices touched your heart today, please consider subscribing to Ancient Epics and ringing the bell so you never miss the next forgotten tale. Thanks for watching.